You were in jail for, you said 2.5 days?
Yes.
23-hour lockdowns.
23-hour lockdown. Yeah, they took me to jail. They put me in an orange jumpsuit. They injected a needle into my arm, and because they told me that as an inmate, I was forced to take a TB test. So a complete stranger at the jail injected a substance into my arm, and it was a very, very dark and imposing process that I had to go through before I was taken to my cell block. And then they took me upstairs to a cell block where they told me that I would be in 23-hour lockdown. And they told me I would not be seeing a judge that day because they picked me up in the middle of a blizzard. So they knew that the courts were closed. And rather than wait until the courts were open again to come get me, they came and got me during a blizzard when they knew I'd not be able to see a judge. And I was told I was so I was panicked, and I just said, well, will I be able to see a judge tomorrow? We don't know. We don't know if the courts will be open. And I just remember, can anyone guarantee me when I can see a judge? And they said, we don't know. They said, we don't know how long the weather will be bad. And even when the courts reopen, there'll be a backlog of cases. It could be next week before you get to see a judge. And they're telling me that I'm going into 23-hour lockdown Monday through Friday. And then they tell me that on Saturday and Sunday, you don't even get an hour. Like, you're literally just in your cell all day Saturday, all day Sunday into Monday. And then you'll get an hour out of your cell on Monday. And I'm like, with no idea if I'm going to see a judge this week. Next week, no clue. They take me up to my cell, shut the door, and it was 2 days before somebody came back and opened the door, and told me that I had they told me I had an attorney phone call, and so I went down and I met my attorney on the phone, who my team from the WalkAway organization had found for me, and he told me that he had talked to the prosecutor and that he had arranged a virtual hearing with a judge for me that day, and that there was in all likelihood I would be released, because he said the government is not going to fight for you to be detained. And so I ended up having a virtual hearing with a judge later that day. The judge did order my release, and then after midnight the second night, I ended up getting out in the early morning of the third day.
Just get back to the TB or whatever it was. Was it a syringe that went into your arm?
Oh yes, he slid the syringe into the skin of my forearm and injected a substance that formed a bubble in my forearm.
That would have been the absolute end for me, I think. And I'm not a needle freak. I'm not afraid of needles. I give blood. I gave blood all the time before the world shut down. In invading my body, I mean, did you not have a choice? Did you?
No choice.
And if you lash out and freak out, add another 3 felonies for assaulting a police officer.
100%. Or just whatever, disorderly conduct or being uncooperative, whatever the hell. And and you have to keep in mind too, this is like at the height of vaccine, the debate about vaccine, so it's like burned into everyone's mind, like, don't inject me with something that I don't want. This is like one of the most talked about things that are happening. And now suddenly I'm like in an orange jumpsuit in a jail with a complete stranger sticking a needle in my arm and injecting me with something. To this day, I don't know what it was.
That is, and people, look, bottom line, Chad, if it's not, I don't care what it was. I don't care what it was. Saline, someone forced it, not for. That's okay. I didn't even know that. That's okay. Speechless.
Yeah.
So were you in a cell? Did you leave the cell at any point for the 2 days, or are you in
no.
a?
So it was like an 8 by 8 or whatever concrete. It was made out of concrete bricks, like cinder blocks, yeah. And it had a metal door with a vertical window, like maybe like 2 inches across. Like, I remember you either had to like look with one eye or the other, but you couldn't see, and that was it. And there are so many things about that. I mean, I'm very claustrophobic anyway, so I forget it. But like, this was in January, late January, so they had there were 2 squares on the wall. One was on like this wall and one was on this wall. And it's hard to describe, but I wouldn't call them ducts, because when you think of a duct, you think of like a grid pattern or something that air can like travel through. These were, it was almost like a screen, and a screen where just like teeny tiny little holes in it. And one of them for a while was like blasting out hot air. And then the other one, I guess, is like receiving the air and whatever. But I remember I'm already in a panic, and I'm already freaking out. So I ripped my orange jumpsuit off, and I was literally just standing in there with they give you a pair of brown underwear. So I'm standing in there with brown underwear and plastic sandals, and a guard went walking by my cell. And I just said, I know this is probably a ridiculous question, but I was like, can you turn the heat off? And he was like, no. He was like, it's either on or it's off. And he was like, these are the winter months, so it's off. And I mean, I'm telling you, like, you're just in there, you're like, I can't even control the temperature of the air, and it's too hot, and I'm panicking, and I'm just in there like,
I don't want to see. I mean, we'll see it. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's going to say it. Someone says it's only 2 days. It's only 2.5 days. I'm telling you, I'm not claustrophobic. I got stuck in an elevator. 2 seconds, I'm freaking out, and like not like like breathe. Just you can't control your breathing. You start you're in this. You have no. It's torture. I mean, I don't care that it's only 2.5 days or a little over 2 days.
Yeah,
that's out. That's okay. I'm sorry.
Well, no, and that person. Listen, yeah, to that person. Yeah,
nobody said it, by the way, but I'm just saying, like, some people might.
Okay. Well, yeah, to anybody who might be thinking that, I guess I would say, like, yeah, you have the benefit of listening to the story in retrospect. I wasn't sitting there. If someone had said to me, you're going to get out of here in 2.5 days, it would have been horrible. But I would have been like, okay, it's just 2.5 days. It's just 2.5 days. That was not the situation. They were telling me that it could be more than a week before I even have an opportunity to see a judge, and that I'm going to be in this room, in this heat, in this situation for 23 hours a day. And that if my ability to see a judge is next week, I'll get let out 1 hour on Friday. Who knows? Maybe 2 p.m. at Friday. And then it's going to be 2 p.m. Monday before I get out again. So I have to go through all night Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and then into Monday before I'm out for 1 hour again. And that there's no guarantee that this judge is going to release me. Like, I'm just sitting here waiting to find out if I'm going to be extradited to DC, where I'm going to be held in prison until my trial.
Which someone pointed out, many people rightly pointed out, is still the case for many of the January 6th defendants.
Yes. Right.
I got to ask you, practically speaking, what did you do for those 2+ days? Do you jog in place to get out energy? Do you just sit there and count holes on the wall? Like, what do you physically, psychologically do for 2 days?
So I paced back and forth from my bed to the metal door, which was 4.5 steps. It was 4.5 steps from my bed to the door and 4.5 steps back from my door to the bed. And I just paced back and forth all through the day, all through the night. Like, I just didn't stop. And I asked, at one point a guard walked by, and I asked him if I could have a book. And he came back with a form. And he said, well, if you want to get a book, you have to fill out this form. And I said, okay. I said, well, after I fill out the form, how long will it take to get the book? And he said, oh, it usually takes about 3 or 4 days. And I was like, are you kidding me? So at that point, I said to him, okay, like, forget the book. I said, would you please be willing to just bring me a bunch of these forms? And he did. Thank God. He was very nice. He came back and he brought me a small stack of these forms. I had a pen, because in your kit, they give you a kit with like a thing of shampoo and a toothpaste and stuff. There's a little pen. They take off the hard outer casing. So you just have like that flimsy ink tube inside, and then the tip of the pen. So I would pace back and forth for hours. And then when I would get like physically exhausted, I would sit down and just try to write. And I would write, like, I kept it, by the way. I have all of my writings are in a drawer.
I'd love to see it physically, what that sheet looks like in reality.
Do you want me to get them?
Nah, send me a picture afterwards, and then you can tweet it out. It'll be good.
Well, I won't tweet it out because I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book, and I'm putting all of. I'm literally going to copy everything I wrote and put that in the book. But it's I mean, it's literally just the rantings and ramblings of a terrified person. Like, it's sad. I mean, it's heartbreaking to read. There's one page where I literally just wrote the words, "I'm so scared, I'm so scared, I'm so scared, I'm so scared," over and over again, and "let me out, let me out, let me out, let me out, let me out." I just, like, there's a whole page of me just writing "let me out." And then the rest of it, I'm mostly writing in stream of consciousness about what I'm feeling, and trying to reassure myself that and it's like 18 pages.
Brandon, chat wants to see.
Okay, hang on one sec.
All right. While Brandon goes, actually, this will be a good time. I'll get to some of the super chats. Theophrastus, it's amazing how much the wokeness appears to be a cult, including trying to destroy apostates as if they were traitors. Excuse me, I just choked. Leave and they go insane. Thank you, Theophrastus. We got Richard Bloom. Brandon, what is your view on CRT? I'm going to keep this one up and see if we can get to it later. Did you see the new? Okay, so this, by the way, there's a fact check, which I'm going to have to go check with the requisite degree of skepticism for all fact checks. It's always good to hear these perspectives. I watched him on Timcast. I couldn't imagine having to choose the lesser of two evils. We're going to get there. What are conservatives conserving at this point? Okay, Brandon, let's see this. I was reading some chats while you were gone, but
no worries. If you need to keep going for a little bit, that's cool.
Here, I'll blitz through these. Okay, hold on. I got that. Question is, with gay rights mostly in place, how and why has the trans community gained so much power and influence? I think we've discussed that, but that might be an entirely different subject. When did it become necessary for anyone to define themselves with their sexuality, sexual orientation? Interesting question. Arlie Songbird, Viva, what does Brandon think of Pride Month, or as it is in your country of Canada, Pride season? That manipulation is prominent on the left, and it's globally. Wish I knew how some can be so clear that it's happening and how others get sucked in. Brandon, I've watched you through your entire journey. You were meant for this.
Thank you.
Brandon, what do you see yourself first as? An American or I don't know, the gay, I think, is a Mercada meme, a gay guy. And what is more important to you?
Oh, I see myself as an American first. And the gay thing, I don't even really think about that much anymore, because I don't think Americans care. Not very much, and not very many people. So it just, when I tell my story, when I'm doing public speaking, and I talk about being gay, I talk about my experiences in the gay community, I talk about being a gay conservative, but it's not something I care about anymore.
And I only knew it because you had mentioned it in passing on Timcast. It's not it didn't. Okay, Brandon, chat. Well, I mean, don't show too much that they're going to blow it up and then steal your thoughts and then publish the book before you. But
no, you're not going to be able to see it. So, all right. So, I don't know if you can see, but this is, I just wrote.
Oh, hold on. You know what I'll do? I'll do this.
Oh, well, now you probably can read it. But so and these are like multiple pages and stuff too. But
did you Brandon, were you writing lengthwise, or was it rectangular way up?
For some reason I was writing like almost like a book. Like, this is one side and then I was writing on the other side, and then for this one I did it this way, but then I turned it like I was just, I don't know, I was doing this like book stuff. Look at this one. Let me out, 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 let me out. I was just like terrified.
Brandon, it's straight up. I don't want to compare it to all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. I mean, it's straight up like Shining level madness, and like child level terror. Like I just, and it's, you go to zoos, and this is not to be this is not I don't mean this in any mean way, and there's no but. It's the distress of a caged animal of a certain intelligence. Pace, repetitive behavior. You'll notice elephants in too small enclosures. They just keep swinging their heads in the same way, and of a higher order creature with a brain. I mean, it even 2 days. It's torture. It's torture.
Right here on this one, I wrote, the longer this goes on, the more it feels like it's not real. Is there any coping, adjusting? How can anyone stay in a room 23 hours a day? Please let this end soon. Please let me stay calm. Please help me. Please help me. Please help me. Please let me out.